Fait accompli. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It is Monday, June 16th, 2025. Fait accompli. It's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. It's a matter of when, not if. No matter your view of a trade, the minute Rafael Devers said, first base, third base, I'm a DH. You told me I'm a DH. That was it. Now, you may not be happy with the trade in Boston. I heard from so many people in Boston after this trade was announced last night during a Father's Day festive meal. And I said, I don't understand why everybody is so up in arms. The Boston Red Sox had to trade Rafi Devers. They could not have someone on their team making over $300 million who was not interested in the team. I told you on May 9th, that's over a month ago when this happened, Craig Breslow will get out of this. There will be some sort of trade, a DFA, something. This is not who the Red Sox are going to go with moving forward. The way this gets to a trade, lots of misunderstanding here, lots of reports. He wasn't shopped. The Giants came in, swooped in and got him. It's not how it happens. First, it starts with the action. The action is the injury to a player, Bregman. Then it starts with the discussion that leads to a meeting, baseball department only, and then with the president. And then you sit with the owner. You talk about what's happening, what has happened. What's happening is we have to replace Bregman. What is happening is Devers doesn't want to do it. Then you go talk to him. In the Red Sox case, they went to see him. John Henry went to, David, you've got this. I believe it was Kansas City when John Henry got on a plane and went with Craig Breslow and Sem Kennedy, the president, flew to Kansas City to meet with the player. And I told you at the time, they don't like doing that. No one likes changing their schedule to take care of a player issue off the field. Definitely not. Get back from Kansas City, a bunch of quotes. We're good here. Everything's calm. That's just what we say. Nothing solved because what Devers, when he's going public and talking, you remember what he said. Now they should do their jobs, essentially. Hit the market. Look for another player. I'm not sure why they want me to be an in-between. Next thing you know, someone in the outfield gets hurt. Then they want me to play in the outfield. Yeah, that may be true, Rafi. I know the kind of player that I am, and that's where I stand. Well, where you stand is in the city by the bay, right next to Steve Perry singing Lights, as you don't play third for the San Francisco Giants. Reports, only the Giants involved. The minute Devers is fighting with the front office, the meetings start, they continue. Then you come to the conclusion. Funny, some people would say no conclusion until a team is going to hit the bid. We'll think about moving the player. That's not what a front office does. Let's see if we can get a return that's commensurate with the quality of the player. That's not what a front office does. Let's see where the team is. Oh, they've won 5 in a row. They're finally back in playoff contention. They just swept the Yankees. Sorry, that doesn't come up in conversation. The position of your team does not come up when you are discussing what you are doing with a player who did what Devers did. You could be in first place 10 over. You could be in last place 20 under. The discussion in the front office is the same. And when the decision comes, then you're out to market. So don't believe anyone who tells you that no one knew that Devers was available. These GMs and people below the GMs, scouts, development people, AGMs, team presidents, owners, Everybody talks to each other. Not in a collusion way, but hey, I don't know if it's possible because I can't imagine what our owner's going to do. But hey, we would probably have to talk about Devers. Wouldn't we want to talk about Devers? Wouldn't you want Devers in your lineup? Because do you know that president of baseball operations, guys or women or people or presidents of teams, when you're speaking to people on the other team, you're planting a seed. Generally, will blow away and maybe plant somewhere else or blow away and get run over by an 18-wheeler. But once in a while, a seed you plant gets a little bit of water. Maybe it's schwitz and not actual rain, and then it starts to grow. Every team would have an opportunity to take on a 10-year, $313 million player who signed through 2033 because when the decision was made, LeBron style, to get rid of Devers, which make no mistake, the minute Devers came out with the quote impugning the front office, the minute he was not going to be a team player, the decision was made to move on from Rafael Devers. Hard stop. It's a matter of when, not if. You'll read today, this all came together quickly. Devers hit a home run in the afternoon game as the Red Sox swept the Yankees. The Giants couldn't have known because their starting pitcher, Kyle Harrison, for the Sunday night game against the Dodgers was toeing the rubber in the bullpen. Hey, I've made these calls, by the way. Pull Kyle. Pull Kyle. We got to talk to him. Have him come in. Well, wait a minute. He's starting. Well, no, he's not. Now, why would Kyle Harrison be pulled from a start right before, and why would Rafael Devers be able to play for Boston in the afternoon? The answer is the trade was not approved. The trade was not complete. The trade was not done. It was a fait accompli, but it wasn't finished. You do pull players when you know you are going to trade that player, even if it's not fully signed off, fully approved. When you have an agreement, you're not letting a player involved in the deal play, which means the actual agreement did not come into play until Devers is done with the Red Sox because, and Coca, I'm sorry, I didn't check this fact. Did Devers give you 9 innings yesterday during the Red Sox-Yankees game? Because if he gave you 9 innings, then during the game, and sometimes trades happen during the game and players get pulled during the game, and then they cry. One of Coca's Mets players did that. It's a Monday. Coca's a little off because Coca would know which Mets player it was who was pulled off. Coca would know whether Devers. So therefore, Wilmer Flores, he's back, baby. And Wilmer Flores is on the Giants. That's funny. That's a nice little coincidence there. So Devers plays the entire game. Therefore, the trade wasn't done. Is it possible the trade got done after the Red Sox-Yankees game was finished and before first pitch of the Giants game? Yes, that's when it did get done. It's not strange that a trade would happen like that. None of the things that happened yesterday are strange. What is strange is that anyone would actually believe that the Boston Red Sox, no matter, and I've read them all, Coca, it stopped me from resting after my weekend, but I read them all. All the different opinions and the different views, all the people that come up with their instant analysis 5-minute videos as though they have any idea what actually happens during these scenarios where a player is going to get traded or there's a long-term deal and a large amount of money involved. The fait accompli was the going to be traded part. When you go through the teams, you go through the packages, you figure out what is possible, who you want, what the trade will look like. The Boston Red Sox get back Jordan Hicks, a pitcher who's signed for the next 2 years. They get back a pitcher, Kyle Harrison, who's a kid, will not be arbitration eligible for a bit. He's got 39 career starts. The Red Sox will not pay $1 of Devers' contract. In a money situation, when a team is taking on a $300 million player, you can bet that the return will not be as great if the team is taking all the money. In this case, the Giants had two things that the Red Sox really needed to find a trade partner. One, they have a dearth of left-handed hitting. Two, they have a new president of baseball operations whose name is Buster Posey, who wants to assure everybody, hey, it's different under me. We're doing things differently. We are going to be there. We're so close to the Dodgers. We were tied for first at the time of this trade. We're a game back after losing last night. We are right in there. Buster Posey acknowledged that he had been talking about Devers for weeks with the Red Sox. There has never been a time, never, where there is a conversation going on between two teams and two teams only. There is no such thing as exclusive dating. There is no monogamy in baseball trade talks. There is only adultery. The Boston Red Sox were speaking to everybody they could find, which is roughly 29 teams. When the Giants stepped up to take all the money and provide two starting pitchers, plus their number 4 prospect, plus another bat, what the Red Sox said is, we are not going to do better than this deal. And this accomplishes several things. One, inside the Red Sox clubhouse, there is no longer a doubt. You do not go against the front office, and you are a team player. That's the two lessons that are learned with the Red Sox players. Red Sox fans, I would like to address several Red Sox fans, specifically my friend Chris Brockman. I know you're going to do a show later with Rich Eisen, and I wish for you that you get a piece of a team. You know I love you, but man, your anger, your frustration, not understanding how the Red Sox at this point in their season could make a trade like that, and not willing to understand that inside the clubhouse, the Red Sox look at their team today better than they look at their team yesterday. How can that be? You traded your best hitter. He's got 15 home runs. He's hitting for, his average is better. Remember, this is the player who started breaking the record with the most Ks in the early part of the season, which seems like 10 years ago already, as we are in the middle of June. The clubhouse wants gamers. You're not a gamer when you say that you're not willing to pick up for an injured teammate. You want players in there who will do anything for their teammates, will play any position at any time because they value team above person. And Devers does not. And for fans who think the Red Sox are worse off, someone, Coca, dropped to me a Nico Harrison. As though that's what Craig Breslow is. And we've criticized Craig before, or that's what John Henry is. He's only paying attention to Liverpool and his other Fenway Sports Group. He doesn't care about the Red Sox. It makes me so angry, not as a former executive. It makes me angry because that is an emotional response to people who do not understand the benefits of this trade. You can't measure them today. The benefits of this trade get measured over the rest of this season. Then they get measured when you see the development of Harrison, who was sent down to AAA, a bona fide major league starter that provides depth. The possibility that Jordan Hicks does not start but returns to a bullpen role and becomes dominant. And you're going to be super happy when you see Crochet go 8 and Hicks go 9 if it goes that direction. Or he continues to start. And then you see the reallocation that the Red Sox do with money that is saved by getting rid of Devers, who was an overpay in 23, a knee-jerk reaction to losing Mookie Betts to the Dodgers in a trade because there was no re-signing, and the pressure to sign Devers by all of the fans back in 23 was stifling, suffocating. Let's see how the money gets reapportioned. Because, side note, that's also part of the discussions that come right after the fait accompli that Devers was going to be moved. I can't wait to tell you about something tomorrow night, and I couldn't wait to talk about it today. And it is purposefully up now in the show. I'm excited for the Florida Panthers. I'm excited. NBA Finals. Obviously, we have a Game 5 tonight. We'll get to it. But I wanted to start with Stanley Cup Game 5 because in a 2-2 series, which both the Stanley Cup and the NBA were, it went from, amazingly, both series, Coca, I believe, went from best of 7 to best of 5 and to now to best of 3. Both series. Amazing. Some of you may remember 1994 when both series, and that was Knicks and Rangers, went 7. It just changes the whole view of June and makes you forget about the fact that it's 52 degrees and raining. You remember what happened in Game 4, which I'll talk about later on in this show where I was and how I was watching. Spoiler alert, I was watching with a bunch of fellow camp alumni in Eagle River, Wisconsin, as the Panthers blew a huge lead at home and lost in overtime, and then came back, flew all the way to Edmonton. Granted, easier flight than the broadcasters who have to fly there for the local news networks. But they go to Edmonton and they do what they do. And I want to focus and I want to commit this segment to my friend and coworker, Mike Ryan. Mike Ryan will have to tell you that he is still against Brad Marchand, the person. He will have to tell you that Sam Bennett is the favored player for the Conn Smythe because he's got 15 goals. He'll tell you that Connor McDavid is the second highest favored, and then there's Brad. And he'll tell you that you can still hate the person but acknowledge the player, which he didn't want to do in the beginning, as you may recall. I believe he even said he would root for the Panthers, but against Brad. You talk about a trade deadline acquisition, doing for your team not as a role player, not as a third line, throw in, play a couple shifts, hope for the best, be a good guy in the clubhouse because you're OL triple D. You're talking about trading for someone who has turned back the clock in a way that all of us dream about when that clock strikes midnight. And that is a triple entendre for those paying attention at home, and I know it's early. Brad Marchand comes into the Panthers from the hated Bruins and becomes the heart and soul of a team that is about to be known as the Dynasty. And I've been talking about this dynasty since the playoffs started because I said to you, if the Panthers make it back to the Cup and win their second Cup in a row, and that would give them 3 straight Stanley Cup appearances and 2 Stanley Cups, they've done it. They have hit that threshold. When you look at the way the Panthers play, whether Edmonton tries to play their game or tries to play the Panthers game, the Panthers can play like Edmonton. The Panthers can play stifling knockdown defense instead, slow it up. They hit harder. They skate faster. They skate smarter. They are up against 2 players in Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, who may be better than any players on the Panthers. The Oilers have a goalie issue, I grant you. We'd all take the Bob over either Pickard or Skinner. But there's a difference when you're watching the team. And what it made me think about watching Game 5 is that when you're building a team, whether your payroll is the level of the A's or the Marlins or the Dodgers or the Yankees, when you're in a salary cap sport, whether you're the Cowboys or whether you're the Buccaneers, the old Buccaneers, or the Carolina Panthers, everybody is building their team with the same goal in mind. It's an amazing concept because in many other businesses, You are doing something in order to maximize revenue, to maximize profit. You are looking at different systems. You're looking at different ways to do things better in order to outperform your competitors in a space. When you have no competitors in a space, you are simply looking to build the infrastructure that will then be attracted by competitors. When you're first to market in something and you do it, you always know when you're building that you are setting yourself up because you're showing the way. You're showing what the path is to this new business, this new concept. Sports is very much a copycat industry. And we're going to talk about it later this show with the trades that went on yesterday, the NBA trade with the Grizzlies and the Magic. But when you see something work, you try to develop that thing. When you have an idea of something new that could work, you try once in a while, but not as often, to be the trailblazer. And so when you're putting a team together, payroll be darned, you're doing it for the purpose of being exactly where the Panthers are now. And the Panthers started this process not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, over 5 years ago, as they started a plan of what it would look like to actually be a successful on-ice franchise partnered with a successful off-ice franchise, drawing fans who are paying money to go to games, getting sponsors who are investing real money in their team. And when it all comes together, and it happens almost never, because when it does, that feeling is the second greatest feeling that anyone can ever have. Fill in the blank for whatever your first feeling is, because it's never going to be that first, but it's a solid second every time. When you set yourself out to do something, there's so many things that put you off your path. Whether it's an injury in sports, whether it's lack of performance, whether you scouted someone wrong, whether you developed someone wrong, there are myriad things that can happen that take you off your path. But when it happens, it's just the perfect music. And we're going to watch it with the Panthers. All right. Hold on. I got to just finish one thing, Coca. I know we're live. I know that's bothering you. But I'm so close right now to winning in Stratego. I'm in an online Stratego thing. So I just want to finish my move. They're close to my flag, but they're not going to get it. I didn't surround it all with bombs, even though I could have. But I didn't. There's one way in. But hold on. And, okay. Is that a big deal? You upset that I'm playing Stratego during the show? Do you think I'm not giving you my full attention? You think I owe it to you? You all pay me. Well, Dan, you pay me to do this. Yes, I'm talking about Stephen A. Smith. Yeah, I'm going to be that guy. I'm doing it because I think you've come to like me just a little bit, Sally Field style. You really, really like me. Numbers are good. Keep going. DavidSampsonPodcast.com. We're live every day, 7 a.m. 2 hours, not one. Stephen A. Smith got torched, and I mean Torched. He was in the middle of a game where he's being paid $20 million to be the halftime guy, the pregame show guy, the postgame show guy. He's thinking of running for president. A lot going on in the world. I'm gone for a weekend, and quite a few things happened off the field this weekend. And someone over his shoulder took a picture and a video of Stephen A. Smith playing solitaire on his phone during the NBA game. Now, raise your hand if you do not live in a glass house. Just asking. I'm asking if every one of you pays complete full attention during the course of your day. You're not checking your personal email. You're not going on the apps. You're not going on social media. You're not going to Amazon. That you are locked in. And I mean locked in. Me defending Stephen A. Smith is laughable. Defending someone who I think is a complete blowhard, who does not have complete conviction in all his feelings and wants to just make sure that he can get clipped and aggregated. By the way, I am genuflecting in your general direction to get $20 million to do what you do. Believe me. That's a path. On it. He's playing solitaire during the NBA Finals games. Then someone catches him. Then he tweets, I don't know what y'all talking about. It was during timeouts. The cover-up's always worse than the crime. I have no idea why he would tweet that, since it was clearly because the person who took the video panned out, by the way, the game was going on. Here's an idea of what Stephen A. Smith could have said. I'll do whatever I damn well please during the course of a game. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about what is going on around the NBA with ESPN, with the NBA Finals. The fact that Indiana was trying to take a 3-1 lead in Game 4. The fact that Indiana is a story of how teams are put together that got manifested only 2 days later when a trade was made by a team, Orlando, who wants to do exactly what Indiana's doing, hence copycat league. If it works for Indiana, let's make it work for Orlando. The gravitas, and I use that word understanding, that there are wars going on, there is genocide going on, there is misunderstanding going on, there's hate, there's death, there's shootings. I understand all that is going on off the field. But right now on the field, the job of the broadcaster is to give the proper weight and gravitas to that which they are presenting to you. This is not a Tuesday in the middle of the season. This is not a January 17th game. This is the NBA Finals. My background, old guy or not, is when our friend Bob Costas is setting up an NBA Finals game for you in the 90s, you think that not only is this appointment viewing, but you think, my God, they could be splitting the atom here. You think you're about to see drama in a way that you would expect a curtain to be the precursor to the feeling that you're about to have. You are about to be entertained in a way that merits the amount of money you are paying if you're in person and the amount of time you're spending if you are watching on television. My biggest complaint about Stephen A. Smith, about ESPN, is every single game of the NBA Finals, in my mind, forget the digital signage, which was totally botched. My view is that there is not that sort of excitement, that sort of drama, that this series has been full of drama. We've got a Game 5 tonight, which is really Game 1 in a 2 out of 3. Go back to the days when I was young and 66% of you were not even born. And the first round of the NBA playoffs, and Coca will not believe me, but then he'll look and he'll say, my God, you're just old. The first round of the NBA playoffs used to be a 2 out of 3. The most amazing thing about a 2 out of 3, and it was first round, but the most amazing thing is, yikes, you got to win Game 1. This is the NBA Finals. This is tied at 2 with the Game 5 coming up this evening. Do I think the story should be about Stephen A. talking about Tyrese Halliburton getting into another fight with a player? Because that's what you're all watching. You're all clicking it. You're all eating alive all of the ridiculousness off-court stuff that's being fed to you. Why do you think ESPN keeps doubling down on personalities who just yell into the microphone about nonsense with no knowledge of anything? Stephen A. is not understanding of what's going on because he doesn't do it. Stephen A. isn't the story. He's supposed to be the presenter of the story. We've been in an era right now because of social media where the people who are supposed to be telling you a story don't understand that fact. They think that you want them to be the story. And so they think they're giving you what you want. Walking into arenas with security like they own the place. You're a broadcaster. Here's how it's supposed to work. You are supposed to receive acclaim. You are supposed to be famous and highly paid like network anchors of long ago. and those on the desk pregame and during game, because you are the voice in our head that is narrating that which we are watching and giving our bodies the indication what is serious and what is not, what should be paid attention to and what shouldn't be. The job of editors, producers, talent is to drive an understanding of a moment. Stephen A. Smith playing solitaire should not be your issue. Stephen A. Smith wanting to be the central character in a story about nonsense, that should be your issue. The problem is when executives are doing his contract, the higher ups at ESPN, they're evaluating following, they're evaluating clicks, downloads, they're evaluating Q rating. And all of that is built by us as consumers when we indicate to an opinion maker or to an influencer in any industry that we want X, guess what? That's what we're going to get. You want to know why things get dumbed down? You want to know why things are offensive to us? Because that moves the numbers. Don't criticize Stephen A. Smith for playing solitaire. Criticize ourselves for putting Stephen A. Smith in that position where whether he plays solitaire or not, or is looking up websites on how do I become president, why that all of a sudden becomes the story. I'm tired of it. There's a game 5 tonight, right now, happening. Not right. Well, it depends when you're listening. Depends. But in approximately 13 hours, if you're live with me on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, we are going to watch greatness. Keep your eye on the ball, folks. All right, we're going to take a break right now. B4, hit. When we come back, we're going to review a movie, and then we've got some stuff to talk about that's going on in baseball, because guess what? Shohei's back, just like us, in a moment. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's David Samson. Thank you. I do apologize I wasn't with you Friday. Took the day. I'm here this week, other than Thursday, which is a holiday, and I am happy. Happy to be doing 2 hours with me, Coca, Jack. We're here. What's next? The review. Keep saying what's next after the break. The first break of the first hour is always the review. Yes, I was on a plane this weekend, and you know what happens when I'm on a plane? I get to watch a movie. You know what happens when I'm not on a plane? I get to watch a movie. And I'm here to bring to you a movie called Holy Cow. Holy Cow is a movie not about baseball. Holy Cow is a movie in French. And you're going to say, I don't do subtitles. I don't do foreign films. I'm asking you nicely. Holy Cow made me say, holy cow. Because it is a movie done about a boy who had a tragedy in his life. He is forced to take care of his younger sister in an area in France, farmland, cows are involved, girls are involved, bullies are involved. A lot's going on as this boy needs to navigate a world in which he suddenly finds himself as the adult, not just as the brother, but as the father, but has thoughts that, by the way, I'm 14, I'm 16, I want to be doing those type of things. I don't want to grow up too soon. Well, David, that's not realistic. Sometimes you have to. Well, this is a movie about what happens when you have to and what you do. That sounds ordinary. You may think so. But when you watch Holy Cow, and you can do it, I promise you, you can read English while people are speaking French, and you won't even notice it. I swear. The movie called Holy Cow is an important movie because the audience, you, will be able to relate to some part of it. Some character in this movie, and it's beautifully acted, is going to be very relatable to you. The last thing on Holy Cow, Coca. The star of Holy Cow. It's now 2 times I've seen it this year. You remember The Little Boy in Adolescence, the miniseries that I begged you to watch. The Boy in Adolescence, no acting experience, none. When you watch Holy Cow, the star of this movie, by the way, everyone in this movie, no acting experience. And they're simply phenomenal. Somewhere Lee Strasberg is saying, no, make it so. Tomorrow, oh, this is a good one, Coca. Thank you. I'm going to be watching something called Rolling Along tonight. Rolling Along is on YouTube only. Rolling Along is Bill Bradley, Hall of Fame, New York Knickerbocker. I'm going to review that tomorrow. Check it out if you have time today. You could do a double. Holy cow. And Rolling Along, Bill Bradley. I want to remind everyone that today is Monday, and on Wednesdays, we do a So You Want to Talk to Samson. We have gotten some amazing voicemails from you. You can always email me at David P. Samson on Twitter, DM me. You can email me at davidsamsonpodcast.com. But if you want to hear your voice on the show, and Coca, I've heard some of the people who put their voice on the show, and they're super psyched about it because it's cool. 631 DPS 4869. That number again, 631-377-4869. So you want to talk to Samson? Believe me, you can talk to me. Just call that number. Nothing personal pick of the day. Way back to Thursday were the last two picks. It was Corbin Day last Thursday. Yeah, that went really well for the Rangers. We did not win Corbin Day. We had the Twins over the Rangers, and the Twins got absolutely punished by the Rangers Thursday. But we recovered. We had the Oilers plus 130 over the Panthers. I think Coca minus 169 and a plus 130 is going to be a net unit loss. We are 78-81. That was the Oilers over the Panthers in Game 4. I did? I won $3? Oh, plus. I'm sorry. I thought, I would have won fewer. If I had won the Twins and lost the Oilers, then I would have lost money, even though I would have been 1-1. In this case, I won. Okay, thank you. All right, we can just totally redo that. All right, ready? Nothing personal pick of the day. You don't want to do the wipe again? Okay. Let's move on to what's going on, what my pick is tonight. We got Game 5. I struggle with this pick. Really did. My view here is that it's been such a good series. Indiana is such a good road team. Oklahoma City is such a good home team. Oklahoma City has the momentum now. They've been favored. For crying out loud, Meatloaf, they were still favored to win the series when they were down, about to go down 3-1, where odds would tell you series over, Indiana wins. But instead, SGA outscores the Pacers by himself, like 15-7 at the end of the fourth. Oklahoma City wins, and they're now back to big favorites after being huge favorites, then being small favorites. Now they're just big favorites. The 9.5 points, it just seems, when you've got a three-point shooting team like Indiana, it just seems too much. I'm looking for a close game. I think the middle is what hits here, Coca. But I'm betting the points. Pacers plus 9.5. But do not be shocked if Oklahoma City wins the game but does not cover. Now, I say that. The fact of the matter is Game 4 was insane. Oklahoma City was down, and they ended up covering 111-104, and it was a 6-point spread. But we're still taking the points. Shohei Ohtani. He's back, baby. How funny is that last night, the San Francisco Giants, who were playing the Dodgers, Giants are getting a whole lot of attention. The Giants and Dodgers, just a little back room under the kimono type stuff. The Giants and Dodgers don't like each other. And it's not like they don't like each other the way teams compete with each other and say, oh, I don't like you. The Dodgers and Giants, from top to bottom, it's not great. But when the Giants make news, they acquire Devers, and they think, God, we've got this lefty bat. We got someone to play here. Buster Posey is doing a victory lap. David Samson's doing a victory lap. Everything's great. And then, boom, you're in the middle of your victory lap, and then news comes out that Shohei Ohtani is starting tonight against the San Diego Padres. Now, for the San Francisco Giants, they're fine with that, actually. They're not totally crushed that the Dodgers took over the news cycle. Because at the end of the day, the Dodgers have turned out to be a good team, but not a historic team. That division with the Padres, Giants, and Dodgers looks like it's going to be one of those years where the Giants are familiar with how it can work, where you can win 100 games, win the division. Because that's the only team that's done in this recent run of Dodgers dominance. But the decision to start Ohtani was devastating to me because I had told you 5 days ago that Shohei Ohtani won't start until after the All-Star break. That was me doing a segment called Wait to See. Wait to see is when I tell you something's going to happen. If it does, great. If it doesn't, fine. But I promise you I revisit it. Not like the other solitaire stratego playing hosts. I'm out there giving you accountability. How could I have been so wrong? How could I not have thought to myself, oh, they don't care about stretching him out. They don't care about rehab assignments. He's a bullpen arm. Shohei Ohtani is starting for the Padres, but he's a bullpen arm. This is like an opener. He's not ready to be a real starter. A real starter is someone who is stretched out to 100 pitches, who has a chance to give you 9 innings on a particular day. That's a starting pitcher. That's not me being old. That's not me being anti-analytics. That's me telling you what a starting pitcher actually is. I did not take into account on June 11th when I did my wait to see that Shohei Ohtani was going to be a bullpen arm. That's on me. The good news is that back on February 23rd, 2025, many, many months ago, I told you Ohtani won't start until at least June. Whew, we got that one right. It's June 16th when he's going to start. Is this a big deal to you? Shohei Ohtani pitching for the first time since 23? I agree. It's a big deal for baseball. It's a big deal for the suits off the field. Big deal for the doctors who got him back after his second Tommy John. And I told you, I'm going to call it a Tommy John. You're going to read everywhere. Shohei Ohtani, in his first start post a surgical procedure, second of his career, he had a second Tommy John. Him coming back slowly, which it has been slow, which can happen with a second Tommy John, because the odds are you don't come back from a second Tommy John. The fact that he has come back and is able to even be a bullpen arm is a tip of the chapeau to Shohei Ohtani, because during rehab, which is mind-boggling to me, he won an MVP. I've never come across that, Coca, in my entire career. Or an injured starter on Tommy John, God knows I had plenty, who wins MVP because he's hitting 50 homers and stealing 50 bases. Hold on, let me think about it. Nope, I got nothing. Nothing for you. This guy is a unicorn. I couldn't be happier for him, for the Dodgers, the fact that he made it back. I'm only pointing out he's not a real starting pitcher. And the Dodgers could use some starting pitching. Now, will it be a relief to the bullpen to have another bullpen arm out there giving you 3 innings, 4 innings? I'll tell you right now in my wait to see, because I got a new one for Ohtani. Book it for June 16th, Coca. Wait to see when we tell you something's going to happen. We'll revisit it like tomorrow. Shohei Ohtani will not throw 75 pitches in the game tonight against the Padres. There is a backup starter long man ready to roll because they're going to need it. Ohtani will have fewer than 75 pitches. I want to stay with the Dodgers because something happened during the weekend that got my attention that I thought would be closer to the top of the show, but too much is going on. It is Pride Month, and a bunch of teams were wearing Pride hats. New Era and MLB, do not miss an opportunity to give you a new hat. If it's an occasion, second Tuesday, first Monday in October, we're going to do robes and not hats. Oh, I know Greg got that one. So the Los Angeles Dodgers were wearing their pride hats, and all of a sudden there's a picture of Clayton Kershaw not pitching that day. There's a picture of Clayton Kershaw with some sort of writing on his hat. Now, because I'm me and I'm pretty clueless about a lot of stuff, the first thing I thought of when I just saw the picture was, all right, someone's hurt, someone died. It's a violation of an MLB rule. I thought of that immediately. You're not allowed to do any write-ins. The reason that rule happened is that players were writing messages. They were defacing the official MLB uniform, and the hat company wasn't happy about it. MLB wasn't happy about it. The focus should be on the hat company, the logo, who makes the hat, what the team is, not the silver Sharpie of the message you want to give. The reason why that's the rule is money, sponsorship money, but also we'd rather not get into a conversation with the player about what we want on the hat, because if it's in a different language, if there's a double entendre in English, whatever the case may be, it could lead to a distraction that we do not want to be a part of. And there's Clayton Kershaw telling me about Genesis 9:12:16. I looked at the numbers, and I'm not a biblical guy myself, though my name is David Samson, which would make it sound weird. I don't study the Bible. I've read passages in the Bible because I'm Jewish, and that's pretty much, that's Hebrew school for you. Old Testament type stuff. I didn't really know. I don't know verses. I can't cite chapter and verse. Then I did some checking. I read some things from both sides of the aisle. It turns out what Clayton Kershaw was doing was extremely purposeful and extremely dangerous. And I'm not overusing the word dangerous. I'm using it on purpose. Clayton Kershaw talks a lot about his Christianity. I'm all for it. I'm all for whatever religion you want to be. You know what I'm not for? I'm not for intolerance. You know what I'm not for? I'm not for people who are prejudiced. You know what I'm not for? I'm not for people who put their faith in a place where it means that other people can't follow their own faith, their own beliefs. Does it hurt Clayton Kershaw that the rainbow is associated with LGBTQ? Does it hurt Clayton Kershaw that in his own clubhouse there are people who are part of LGBTQ? Don't know who it is, but it's every clubhouse I've been a part of. Was it necessary for Clayton Kershaw to do the business and the bidding of those on the far right who would tell you, and I'm talking about religious, who would tell you, we're going to reclaim that rainbow because that's the original rainbow, the way it was supposed to be intended, had to do with Noah's Ark and the rainbow. Baseball will not put up with that. Clayton Kershaw will get fined for that. You are not allowed to write no matter what it is, but the Dodgers have a problem. The Dodgers have a problem with their fans because not only with Clayton Kershaw, with their anthem singer, they are having issues in Los Angeles. They are having riots, and they're going to stay quiet. The Los Angeles Dodgers are going to stay focused on the field to make sure that we don't think about what else is going on in our city or our community. We have a job as a sports team, as a member and a pillar of a community to acknowledge things that are going on in our backyard and even in the backyard of others. It's our social corporate responsibility. The Dodgers have had problems with Pride Night, Pride Month for years because of their players, because wanting to make sure they don't upset Clayton Kershaw. Let me tell you something. Go ahead, upset Clayton Kershaw. Maybe teach the world a little bit of tolerance. Maybe then half the stuff in the second hour we don't have to do. But believe me, today we will, and we'll do it after the break. Welcome back to hour 2 of Nothing Personal. We are live on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel. Thank you for subscribing. We appreciate that. If you're listening, thanks for staying with us. We're also on DraftKings Network from 8 to 10 a.m. every day. So right now it may be, 9 o'clock in the morning. But where I am, it's 7:53. I had a weekend worth discussing. I went to Eagle River, Wisconsin, where I got to participate in what was a 60th anniversary of the camp I attended called Camp Interlochen. Camp Interlochen is affiliated with the Jewish Community Center of Milwaukee. It's an overnight camp that I started going to when I was 9 years old as a New Yorker. Long family story of how I got there, but I was born in Milwaukee, spent summers in Milwaukee, and was sent to day camp by my late father, and then to overnight camp. Overnight camp is an experience that not everybody is fortunate enough to have. It is something that is questioned by people who don't know about it, thinking that, that's for the privileged. We spend a lot of time raising money to get people to experience camp in one form or another, because camp is where I became me. Camp is where I had an opportunity to reinvent myself every summer, not going to camp with kids I went to school with, elementary school, middle school, high school. Camp is where I had the opportunity at Camp Interlochen to be a star, because everyone's a star at Interlochen. I had a chance to be who I wanted to be and be accepted for who I was, and then watch as people, counselors who in some instances were 3 years older than I was only, watch as I sponged, literally took lessons in Judaism, took lessons in being a child, being an adult, took lessons in how to be responsible, how to form a community and be a part of a community. Lessons that I have used my entire life. I am not anything without camp. And I had a chance to go back for the first time in many years and experience camp. Not quite like the movie. We didn't stay in the cabins, but there were creaking doors that I walked through. We ate camp food. I didn't get to go water skiing, which is something that I learned how to do and ended up being the ski director and the waterfront director of that camp. I was a camp counselor, and I was a camper. And what I wanted to just mention about the weekend, and I appreciate you allowing me the ability to do this, is that even if you don't have a camp experience in your life, what you do have is formative moments. When multiple formative moments happen in the same environment, that's your camp. And we all have that. Some people's multiple formative moments happen negatively. They happen in a house with abuse. They happen in a school with abuse, a church with abuse. They happen in various scenarios to the bad. Or they happen with a teacher who just reaches you in a class that all of a sudden changes the course of your life. Or they happen with your parent or with your sibling or with a friend. They happen with someone, your boss at work. A formative moment is something that gives you clarity. The clarity that camp gave me is that I had the strength and I had the intestinal fortitude and the conviction to be me, and that there was a chance of success. And I don't mean financial success, actually. I mean the success of fulfillment, the success of peace, of happiness, the success of making a difference. And what I got to do this weekend is I got to relive it in a way that when you smell a smell from your childhood, a picture that you're seeing right now is me in front of the very ski boat, although it's a new one now, that I drove, where I first learned to ski on Lake Finley. The campfire, a closing campfire where you cry because not that you're singing Cat's Cradle and say, my God, one day I'm going to live that. That's sort of sad. Or when you're singing Circle Game because the seasons go round and round, or when you have your arm around somebody who you know or you don't know because you're all part of the same community and that moment will end. Our clubhouses were a lot like camps. I don't just mean for the jocularity. I mean for the intensity of the relationships. Each season in baseball felt like a summer in camp, where there are moments when you don't want to be there, but you realize that overwhelmingly there's nowhere you'd rather be. There are moments when the weather is bad and you're doing rainy day activities. Those old Marlins fans may remember we used to call it rainy day activities. That comes from camp. But there are moments when you realize that you're part of something so special, no matter what the outcome is of that particular day, that particular game, that particular season, that you are of that moment and with that core of people, that you will be bonded together forever. And then at the end of a season, when you get together and meet the team, and you're together with them one final time before everyone goes their separate ways and everyone goes on to the next experience, which may also include more formative moments or not. You know that you want to take a quick snapshot, and that's what the closing campfire is for. It's for the quick snapshot. It's to recognize what you're doing. So I did that in baseball. We didn't obviously have a campfire in the clubhouse, but there were moments where at the end, final game, final weekend of the season, you're getting together with the team. You're getting together with individuals as part of the team. You're talking about next year at camp, spring training. I would call it camp. When are we reporting to camp? Everything to me since I was 9 years old was about chasing that feeling. And I've spoken to you about that so many times, the way I chase Amy. Whether it was winning a World Series, I wanted to win another one. Whether it was losing on Survivor, I want to do it again so to not get the feeling of being a first boot. Whether it's being a failure at the first mini triathlon I ever did and saying I'm going to do an Ironman. Whether it's losing my job by Derek Jeter and saying, you know what, I'm going to be in media and be successful. Whatever the case is, every bit of drive that I have can be traced back to camp. It can be traced back to counselors from the beginning, Dan Oren and Jonathan Mann, all the way through Mitch Dorff, all the way from Judy Siegel to David Friedman, to Tony Levenberg, the current camp director, people who spend their time trying to get other people their moment. As a team president, my job was to make moments for fans. They're not all going to be good, but they're all going to be moments. My job as team president was to make moments for players, for the staff, for the thousands of employees. And everything I did, and I did plenty wrong, plenty, but everything I did, I traced back to the lessons I got and the feelings I had, the love that I had for that camp. And when you talk about paying things forward, it doesn't have to be with money. Paying things forward happens when you do something for somebody else. It doesn't have to have a price tag attached. It has to have a moment attached. And the ability to do that is the greatest gift you will ever have. And the ability to teach someone how to do that and then to let them do it for themselves will be the greatest lesson you've ever taught. I want to throw out the love for the people I saw this weekend, because moments matter and they take effort. You don't get to Eagle River, Wisconsin without effort. You don't get to open up your heart and your soul and expose your raw nerves for both good and bad without effort, without purpose, without meaning. It is disappointing to me that during the course of the weekend at camp, when I'm with many people from Minnesota, when I'm with many people from Wisconsin, people from all over the country and the world, that two things went on that pierced the veil that camp is supposed to provide, the dome of pure moments of love and pleasure. When the first night I was there, Israel started the war against Iran. And then the second day I was there was an unspeakable murder in Minnesota. If you have not been paying attention, and I pray that not more than 1% of our audience is hearing this for the first time. Former House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark, were killed in a home invasion this past weekend. And that may sound like, why is this story worthy? Here's the thing. The killer was dressed in a Halloween costume as a policeman. The killer rang the doorbell at 2 a.m. of a current sitting politician's house, a Democrat. Ding dong, you're dead. The killer wore a mask. The killer had a list of 70 people that he wanted to kill for their political beliefs. If we don't want to be the United States of America, I would prefer you just leave the United States of America than try to somehow stay and force us into a position where we've become like Mexico, where politicians are killed on a Tuesday and life goes on in a way that no one thinks about on Wednesday. If you think that's your community, and if you think that those are the moments you want, it shocks me to my core. This policeman was not a policeman. He was a fraudulent, hateful killer who has now been caught and will be charged not just with 2 counts of murder, but when he left the house after killing 2 people, he went to another house. Coincidentally, a house where another politician lived who was on his list. This may be the evilest of all Santas, who had a list, he checked it twice, and decided that this is the way to get the America that I want. To get the America that you want, if you have beliefs that are different from the America that is, we have amazing systems in place to get the America you want. It starts with your ability to vote. It ends with your ability to peacefully protest, to assemble and let it be known that there are things happening that you disagree with, that you want changed, and that your job is to try to convince people that you're right, they're wrong. And if you are apathetic, please come to my side and care the way I care. I could not be more encouraging of that type of communication, that type of protest. I could not be more against. And you know, when I try to stay sort of in the middle on politics where you don't know exactly where I stand, because trust me, you don't know exactly where I stand. What you do know is where I stand as it relates to guns. I'm not coming for your guns. I am not in politics. Do I think it's necessary to have AK-47s? Sorry, you're not a well-regulated militia. Don't bother me with your reading of the Second Amendment. You want a gun? Good. An automatic rifle? I can't quite figure out why that's necessary. And that's just the gun part of the conversation. Now we're talking about we don't like what politicians are doing. In my day, here's how it worked. And I'm notwithstanding assassinations that we've seen before at the presidential level. The way it's supposed to work, if you don't like what your state representative is doing, that's okay. Vote them out. The problem with this situation in Minnesota is that the way we react as a country is we react with thoughts, we react with prayers, and we react with statements. And all the statements that come out of the politicians tend to be the same. This one hurt me, though. The Speaker of the Minnesota House is a representative named Lisa DeMuth. And she said in the statement after the killer was found 2 days later after a manhunt in the fetal position in his own house, the state representative said, "I'm grateful this nightmare has come to an end with the suspect captured so he can be charged, prosecuted, and punished for the horror he has wrought on Minnesota." Here's the problem with that statement. The nightmare hasn't come to an end. The families impacted by this, their nightmare's just starting. The heads, the brains of people who are 18 years old, who are thinking, I'd like to make a difference. I'd like to make a difference in politics. Their nightmare is just starting. The people who are currently have been elected into office by the citizens of this United States of America, their nightmare is just starting. Because for whatever reason, we have taken it upon ourselves. I can't quite figure out why, but we've decided that we've got a better plan, and that our plan involves, we don't agree with you, therefore either we're going to shut you up temporarily, or even better, let's shut you up permanently. We don't like the way your company works. We're going to kill you and then become popular like you're some sort of celebrity in prison, Mangione, who couldn't die quickly or fast enough in a capital punishment world in my mind. Here's our plan. We're going to knock on doors. We're going to pretend we're police. In my day, when I had young children, and I still have children, they're not young anymore, they're adults. But one lesson you teach them, and this is a privileged white person teaching this lesson. Hey, when you're pulled over by a police person at night and you're alone, don't pull over. Drive to a police station. With cell phones, call 911. Make sure. It didn't occur to me to have to teach when there's a knock on the door and it's the police, when there is a police car in the driveway with its flashing lights on and there's a knock on the door. What we're taught to believe is someone's dead, but not us. Now we have to teach kids that when a police person knocks on the door, you have to call 911 and say, is there a police person at my door? Otherwise, you do not open the door. That's the world now. The camp I was at this weekend now has 24-hour armed security. Didn't have that when I was a camper or a counselor running the waterfront. Is that progress? Do we view this when we're looking back? Technological progress. We've got social media. Look at what we can do. We can watch a game on our phone. Look at this. You can sit in your own abode and do a show to so many scores of thousands of people. Progress. You can go on the internet and you can get something with your show logo on it. Progress. Calling 911 when there's a police person at your door. Regression isn't even the word I would use to describe that. Insanity. Scary, pathetic. There's no transition to this, Coca. There just isn't. So I'll just transition to the next thing I want to talk about, which is that when I fire managers and coaches, there's a reason why we fired them. And it wasn't necessarily because they weren't good at what they did, but it's the team wasn't performing the way we wanted the team to perform, and we needed to try something. And you've heard me talk about this. It is very important that you do something, because doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to lose a lot of games. The Washington Nationals won a World Series not too long ago, like 2019. They never got to enjoy the fruits of that because of COVID. They ended up having to do a rebuild, and they've been pretty stinky, though, with some of the trades and the very, very adept moves by Mike Rizzo and the likes of the Lerner family. They are onto something. They have a manager named Dave Martinez. The Nationals have been struggling recently. They've lost 8 in a row. The Marlins swept them. By transitive property, that makes the Nationals worse than the Rockies. I think that's how it works, because the Rockies swept the Marlins and the Marlins swept the Nationals. That means the Rockies would sweep the Nationals, and the Rockies are a team that's not going to win 30 games. So there's a couple rumors going around about the Nationals. So Dave Martinez decided that he was going to tell us what's what and who's who. Listen to what Dave Martinez said.
It's never on coaching, never on coaching. Okay, coaches work their asses off every single day. We're not going to finger point here and say it's coaches. It's never on the coaches. Okay, they work hard. The message is clear. All the work is done prior. Sometimes they got to go out there and they got to play the game. It's always been about the players. Always. I played this game a long time. Never once have I blamed the coach for anything. I mean, we worked our asses off to get better. They gave us information and we used it. These guys understand what the game is, man. These coaches, I never had such a group of coaches that worked as hard as they do. I mean, they're here freaking diligently. They go over everything. They sit with players every day. These coaches, they work their asses off. So, and I know every coach's staff is like that. So, sometimes, and the players know. Sometimes, you got to put the onus on the players. They got to go out there and they got to play the game and play the game the right way. We can't hit for them. We can't catch the balls for them. We can't pitch for them. We can't throw strikes for them. They got to do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, that will be the last press conference you'll see from Dave Martinez, because as the president of the Nationals, I would look at that statement by Dave Martinez. I would send my PR guy in to see him. Then I'd send my president of baseball operations in to see him. And then I would go see him and say, dude, what are you talking about? That's exactly what we do. Now, of course, it had the usual drivel, which is I love the hyperbole, never had a better bunch of coaches. They work so hard. They're diligent. Oh, you mean doing their job? They spend time with those players. Yes, doing their job. Yes, it's true. The Nationals are 2-11 in their last 13 games. What would you like to do, Mr. Manager? Maybe that's what Mike Rizzo will do. He'll walk into the clubhouse and say, all right, it's not the coaches. Do you know not one coach that I fired, not one coach was ever impugned by the manager? Managers always stick up for their coaches. That's the job of the manager, because they're with the coaches every day inside the clubhouse for hours. There's nothing worse than when one of your coaches is not loyal to you as a manager. I had a lot of that with some coaches, well, mostly a coach, who was not loyal at all to certain managers, creating havoc, trying to get a line straight to the president, the owner, the GM. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. It never should have worked. You can never let a coup like that happen that you don't start or don't want to have happen. But a manager will back up his coaches, and we ignore that as a front office. It doesn't in any way enter into whether we would fire that particular manager, because we expect the manager to back up the coaches. The question is when and why. When you fire a coach, you expect your manager to say, listen, not his responsibility. That said, a change was made, a new voice, a new direction. Manager gets fired, the GM does it, coach gets fired, a manager does it. Normal chain of command PR stuff. But inside the clubhouse, what the manager is doing there is a real mistake. Because when you've got a chance, which comes up pretty much every day during the course of a season, to back up your coaching staff or your players, if you don't choose your players publicly, privately in a clubhouse meeting, you rip players. You sit down and have a meeting and say, you guys are not paying attention. You guys are not doing the work that's necessary. We're here to do the work, and you don't show up, or when you do it, you're on your phones or you're playing solitaire, whatever it is you're doing. But don't blame me when you don't know what pitcher B has on a 2-1 count and his cutter is 99. Not my problem. I was here with the video to do it. That is standard, happens all the time inside baseball. But the reason why decisions are made to move on from coaches is when the thought is that the players are not responding to the coach, and that response is manifested only through result. You do not ever fire a coach because you say, man, we think you're the greatest, but we're losing games. That's why you're fired. If we have a coach who we don't like because that coach is actually not working that hard, but our team is winning, we're not firing the coach during the season. We let him go after the season. It is totally based on results. And you know my story. You start with manager. Sometimes you start with coaches. Then you got to get to the GM. You just can never get to the president. And certainly, you never get to the owner. When you listen to that 69 seconds of Dave Martinez, you realize that he's not long for that job. And the Lerner family is going to have to make a change because there was no impetus for these comments. It's a losing streak. Teams have losing streaks. It's a down part of a season after the Nationals had a surprising stretch where their record did not likely reflect their talent. And now that their record does reflect their talent, that can be a tough break. But for Dave Martinez to come out and talk about his players the way he just did, what else could it mean other than he knows he's got a problem? So when this happens, the front office has to change its timeline. The front office has to acknowledge that they've lost the manager. I would not be surprised if the Nationals made a change. I don't think they'll do it mid-season because there's not enough to recapture. There's no hope. Now you could say, but David, the Rockies fired their manager. I happen to think the Rockies fired Bud Black and Mike Redmond as a thank you to them for being so loyal over the years and didn't want to soil them as being the manager and bench coach of record for a team that was going to lose 130 games. Forget what the GM came out and said. We need a voice. We need a plan. We have a plan. We're going to be fine. Oy, give me a break. It was total horse hockey at the time. Why not just say, hey, man, we wish we could get fired too. We wish we didn't have to stick around here for this ridiculousness. The Nationals are not in that position. They're part of a rebuild right now where you can have stretches during that part with young players where you're going to outperform your skill level. You're going to prematurely be better than you thought. That's why we tell you that when you have a season that is different than the season you expected, you take advantage of that, but you can't make that decision with an A or an M of the month, April and May. You've got to see how it's going in the first J. We're in the first J, June. The Nationals are the Nationals, and they're being the Nationals right now. In the normal course of action, the Nationals, as the Nationals, would not have a big problem. If they had the record they had with the team they had and they had it consistent throughout the season, there'd be no Dave Martinez talking about anything. There'd be no problem. The thing is, the Nationals were playing better. They had a record that was above their pay grade. They were out kicking their coverage, and now they've regressed the way teams do. He would have been far better served to just stay quiet. Now, Martinez's contract ends after this season. He's got 4 games against the Rockies coming up. Then they're going to play the Dodgers and Padres, not great, and then they're going to play 3 at Anaheim. If the Rockies do to the Nationals what the Rockies did to the Marlins and win 4 in a row, they may have to move up their plan and get rid of Dave Martinez sooner. But what I believe will happen is Martinez will get through this stretch, but that he will not have his contract renewed for next season. I am not making an official wait to see because we've got another one coming, but I did, and we did one already with Ohtani, and I don't want to overwhelm the spreadsheet on davidsamsonpodcast.com, nor Coca's ability to type inside a cell, and I don't mean a cell like that, like an Excel spreadsheet, but Martinez is done. I know why I can't hit a home run in the big leagues. It's because the baseballs are dead. MLB dead in the baseballs. Damn them. Of course, the union stays quiet on all this stuff because the pitcher's part of the union. Hell yeah. Juan Soto got that. Ugh. Oh, that just died at the warning track. Boom. A lot of talk this weekend. My favorite kind of talk. It's the baseball talk. I want to make sure I'm sitting at attention here, Coca, because I think that people in baseball are going to be interested in this. You all know, because we've all figured it out, that baseballs can be changed within the scope of what's allowed. So we get to say, that's $1 fine. They get to say, hey, the baseballs are the same. They're built and stitched within the rules of baseball. Just like they can say, hey, bats are bats. There's a rule about how bats can be. And whether it's, what was that crazed bat called? The torpedo bat. Torpedo bat, that's part of the rules. So it turns out that the baseballs may be different this year, but baseball will come out and tell you that it's still within range, so we're good. But what the players are doing is they're publicly coming out against the baseballs and asking for the truth. One of the things that The Athletic does so well, which is why you should be a subscriber, is they take topics and they write brilliant stories about them, in-depth stories. They've got insiders, outsiders, foresiders, and backsiders. And they said that this year, for whatever reason, there is more drag on the ball than in any other of the 9 seasons that MLB has tracked drag. And therefore, what drag on the ball means, and that is a simple concept, when a ball is hit in the air, the more drag, that means the further the ball doesn't go. I'm not sure that I could have said that less eloquently. A ball that is hit hard, when there's more drag, it doesn't go as far. Factors: weather, temperature, altitude, the swing, the bat, the player. There's so many things that go into whether balls die at the track. To hit a ball, not enough people discuss that it has to be hit in the right place at the exact right time, making that certain sound that lets you know that you got it. The thing is, baseball players know when they've gotten it. When you talk to any baseball player, which is why it is so frustrating for me when players don't run out of the box because they think they got it. They're supposed to know. The thing is, if you're wrong, you got to be covered by hustling around the bases. Because even though a player's supposed to know, they can't always know. The definition of the sport of baseball is that it is a game of millimeters. The smallest possible measurement you can have. And if you hit a ball one way or the other in a direction away from the perfect spot, which you may have been known as the sweet spot, it changes the trajectory of the ball. Andrew McCutchen claimed on X that he had inside information. He claimed that there's somebody who works for MLB who admitted that the balls are different. He actually said, I was told by a rep for MLB that the balls are indeed different this year. They stated that higher seams, which produces more drag on the baseball, causes baseballs to not travel as far as they should. When asked why, I was told that every baseball is hand-sewn, so no ball is the same. When I asked if there's something that can be done about correcting the current performance of this year's baseball, I was told there was nothing that can be done about it this season, but they're working hard on getting to the bottom of why the seams are higher. I would like to find this deep throat within baseball because I would like to be the one to tell Andrew McCutchen that your source stinks. And I'm not one. Really, I hear from people in baseball quite a bit. They don't exactly view me as their go-to friend of the court. But I can assure you in this case, whoever Andrew McCutchen is speaking to, that person doesn't know squat about squat. Glenn Kaplan is a spokesperson for Major League Baseball. You're going to hear a lot from Glenn Kaplan, as you do as we get toward collective bargaining. Works alongside Pat Courtney, longtime phenomenal PR person under Bud Selig and Rob Manfred. What do you think Glenn Kaplan's response was, if you had a guess? Well, if you're listening to the show, you know what his response was, because I told you what MLB was going to say, and they decided to make it official. There has been no change to the manufacturing, storage, or handling of baseballs this year, and all baseballs remain within specifications. God, do I love that horse hockey. It's so good. Are there reasons why baseball would want drag on the ball this year? Are there reasons when baseball at some point would want balls to carry? What would be the reasons? Are they bargaining related? Are they free agent related? Been a lot of rumors over the years that baseball pays attention to who the free agents are and then makes balls according to the free agents. When there's a lot of good pitchers, they want the balls to be live. Get those pitchers with those high ERAs to make sure they don't get paid. When there's a bunch of hitters who are going to be free agents, we want to make sure there's drag on the ball. Call up Costa Ricans. Excuse me, we'd like the seams to be just a tad higher. You all want me to say that's the case, don't you? It's not. Coca could not more vehemently disagree with me. But if you think that baseball has an interest in dead baseballs this year because that somehow as they go into collective bargaining, they need the players to realize that they've got control in that sort of way, you don't get collective bargaining. Owners win collective bargaining having nothing to do with high seams, low seams, or any seams in between. They do it based on intellectual superiority, number one. Number two, they based on leverage superiority, number two. And number three, because they're on the right side of the general arguments that are made on the provisions in a CBA. Is there give and take? You bet your sweet bipsters. But to manipulate the ball, do you think this is the best one? That the commissioner has gotten so much good press for the pitch clock and for time of game. And there's all these great tweets everywhere that the number of 3-hour games is down from a high of 62% when I was there and every game went 4+. Now, like 15% of the games go 3+ hours. That's it. I think that's the stat I wrote. Let's deaden the ball. More outs. It's way faster. Well, I can only tell you that when a home run is hit, they jog around the bases, call it 3.4 seconds, call it 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I'm good. Call it 20 seconds. You know what? For purposes of math, just for S's and G's, not even close. Call it a minute. For every home run hit, you're adding a minute to the game. Oh, the horror. What does an average game have, Coco? Let's pretend an average game has 8 home runs. Now, I'd like you to go look at every box score, if you don't mind. Check out every single box score. The last time there was a game with 8 home runs, my guess is that happens 10% of the time or less. Way less than 10% of the time. Imagine adding 8 minutes to a game. Here's what happens. I didn't lose the plot, Coca. I'm exactly where I wanted to be. Where I want to be is baseball would have reasons to do things to further their narrative that they are making changes for the game that make them feel popular, that make them feel good, that help the broadcasters. We want the game to go faster. I want faster outs. We don't want strikeouts, take too long. Give me first pitch contact, then give me a fly ball and skip the home run trot. Nope. I've been inside the meetings, folks. I've been there. The reason why we don't want to screw around with the ball, it's not that we couldn't. The reason that we don't is that it's not serving our purposes. And believe it or not, while we like to say we're here for the purposes of you and the fans, we're really there for us. I'm not saying I regret it, don't regret it. I'm not saying that I was right or I was wrong. I'm just being honest with you. If there were a benefit in screwing with the balls, as McCutchen is saying, then there would be a reason. If there is a change in the drag, which MLB has agreed with the Athletics analysis, there is a change. Something's happening. They've got scientists. They're going to look at it. I'm good with that. I'm good with the fact that there are specifications the way balls are made, and some years they jump, some years they die. We're not exactly positive why. There is no exact explanation right now that baseball can give because they don't have it. Why are fly balls going 4 feet shorter? They don't know. We spend a lot of time studying it. They, another dollar. There are people employed by baseball, really, really smart people. They've got outside companies, consultancies, Samson, Coca et al., the Skipper Special, trying to figure out stuff. Why? Not to answer to fly balls that are dropping at the warning track. It's to gain even more control over the product. It's to make sure that they have the understanding of how their equipment is going to operate so evaluations can be made on players that are correct and overpays don't happen. If you've got a jump ball, then you believe that Brady Anderson's good. Or steroids you don't know about, you believe Brady Anderson's good. If you've got a situation with a player that's doing something that he shouldn't be doing, you misevaluate the player and then mispay the player. That's the issue. Let's get into the NBA trade. I'm not a big fan. Bud Selig and Rob Manfred had a very simple rule. During the Jewel event of the World Series, you don't make announcements. You got to get written permission by the commissioner if you want to fire your manager in October during the World Series. But generally, when the World Series happens, other than A-Rod announcing that he was doing something which he regrets, he definitely does. The fact is, you shouldn't be having as big a trade as we had in the NBA yesterday. The Memphis Grizzlies traded Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic for Caldwell Pope, Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected first-round picks, and a first-round pick swap. The Memphis Grizzlies are finished. Their whole window with Taylor Jenkins, now interviewing to be the Knicks coach, their whole window with John Morant thinking that they had got it done, the Western Conference has passed them on by. The Memphis Grizzlies were very smart to find a team. Here's how you do it when you've got a player you want to move. And keep in mind something important that we talked earlier. We talked earlier about what teams are doing with players like Devers. We started the show with that. What do you think happens in the Eastern Conference when Jason Tatum is out for the year next year, when Dame Lillard from Milwaukee's out for the year next year, and you're a playoff team, a number 7 seed, and you're getting together talking about your offseason because you lost in the first round to the Celtics, and you're thinking, do we have a window here or don't we? And if we do have a window, how do we not just put our toe in it, but get our entire body through it? The Orlando Magic started their offseason preparations quite a while ago as they were eliminated early on in this NBA playoffs, and they found exactly what they were looking for. Because the Orlando Magic have a core of players who I could argue, pretty persuasively, I believe, is a core on the up. When you talk about Banchero, when you talk about Wagner, you're talking about players who have a chance to actually make noise in a playoff setting. One of the most important jobs that we have as executives is to recognize and then exploit the open windows. Sometimes you don't get the timing right and you look like a fool. Sometimes you don't have the right finances and you're forced to look like a fool even though it's not your fault. But the Orlando Magic realized that in the Eastern Conference, their window is right now. Therefore, you make this trade. You absolutely trade and mortgage your future picks when you have a chance to bring in a player who is what you need, which is a 40% shooter from three, a stop, pop, and drop, which is exactly what Indiana has, the depth they have, the three-point shooting they've done during this postseason. And what we talk about is the copycat nature of the league. So Orlando sees what Indiana did, how they put their team together, Oklahoma City too, frankly, and you say, all right, we can do that. Let's find a player. Let's find a team whose window's closed and tell them their window's closed, and then let's tell them how we can help them get to the next window because we've got draft capital. Now, we're going to take that draft capital, we're going to find and identify a player in a team, and we're going to make the trade, and it's going to be looked at like a total overpay. Except it's not. When you go all in for your team because you're exploiting the window, isn't that exactly what you want your team to do? It's Wagner, not Wagner. Sorry, Coca. Thank you. I actually knew that it was Wagner, but I just said it wrong. So do we have to do that whole thing over? All right, just that sentence. All right, 4869. I think I started with, and you've got Banchero, Bane now, along with the Wagner brothers. You've got the foundation of a team that's beginning to look a whole lot like the teams that are still playing right now. And when you've got a conference with the openings that the Eastern Conference has with the injuries, you pounce on it. The Grizzlies don't have that in the Western Conference. Window closed. Opportunity to compete with the best teams in the West with the current team they had, zero. Therefore, that's how a trade gets made. And this is a good trade for both teams. Orlando takes advantage of the moment, and Memphis takes advantage of the next moment. The thing, if you're Memphis, though, don't you do it halfway. Don't you do it. You got to keep going. If you can find someone to take Ja Morant, now you're talking. You want to do a half rebuild? You want to do a half reset? Guess what that leads to? Half success. You don't want that if you're Memphis. You want to try on a ring for size. See what that's all about. It's not going to be with Ja. And this trade indicates that they view their time with Ja and that window as finished. But you got to finish the deal. Orlando gets Bane in their window, who signed. He's got multiple years left. They've got this core together, and they believe this is their moment, and I couldn't be happier for them. As a matter of fact, I am so happy for the Orlando Magic, and people are so definitely undervaluing how good the Magic are because they've lost in the first round 2 straight years, that here I am on the eve of Game 5 of the NBA Finals, and I've got to wait to see for you. Wait to see. The Orlando Magic will be an Eastern Conference finalist next season. What do you think of them apples? That's the official wait to see. Now, you know that I go back and I revisit some wait to sees. I would like to tell you that I got one wrong. I told you that Major League Soccer would change its collective bargaining agreement by this weekend and get those players paid for the Club World Cup. It absolutely did not happen. There is no new deal between Major League Soccer and its players. And I don't just tell you when I'm going to revisit things I got wrong. I actually do it. So that wait to see that I had just didn't happen. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It means I got the timing wrong because it turns out they didn't have a meeting of the minds. There will be a meeting of the minds at some point because the CBA will have to be changed. And what bothers me about it, Coca, is that you don't allow me to take a wait to see win when it actually happens, but I need to be better because instead of saying by the weekend it would have been changed, I just should have said it's going to be changed. Then I'm a winner. And that would be good for business. We'll be back tomorrow. This is nothing personal.